Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Training, Learning, and Development community. Thanks for joining us this morning. I saw Gina's already in, and Kristen and Christiana. Thanks for being here for the broadcast. So this morning we have another member showcase, and this morning we have Vanessa. Is it Alzate?
Very close, Alzate.
Alzate. Thanks for doing this morning. Glad that you're a part of TLDC and that you joined as a member recently. And I'm very excited about asking you these 20 questions and getting to know you better.
Same here.
Yeah. So let's see. I want to continue the conversation we're kind of having in the green room. You're from New Jersey.
I'm a Jersey girl, born and raised.
Born and raised in Jersey. So what town are you from?
So I grew up in North Jersey and then went to Rutgers in New Brunswick and kind of settled in the area. So I'm in North Brunswick now. And my husband actually works for the university. So we're Rutgers through and through.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Yeah. Because I was saying that my wife is from Cranbury, which I guess is nearby. And I've only been to Jersey. Yeah, I've been to Jersey once. And all I really remember are like the fireflies and a really rainy summer, which was fun. It was great.
We've been having kind of a rainy August. July went on forever. August has gone too quickly, but It's been nice. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about Anchored Training.
Yes.
Anchored Training, you're the president and CEO. This is your thing.
My thing. So when I began my career, I started as a corporate trainer at a software company. And then when I left there, my boyfriend, who's now my husband, said, you should reach out to your friend Lisa, who we used to contract trainers through, and see if she needs anyone to help her with e-learning, on the side, nights and weekends. And I thought that was a great idea. And I was actually with her this past week, and I was telling her that at that time, I thought she was a lot bigger than she was at that time. And I was so nervous to email her. And I sent her the message and she accepted right away. Little did I know that she was the president of her training company and she was doing all the e-learning. And she's like, I have no time to do all of this. So of course I was going to take you up on that offer. And so what I did for the most of my career until recently was I would work full time and I would freelance on the side.
Yeah.
And with her, and then over the years picked up some additional clients. And it was around 2016, I'd just given birth to my oldest, and it was super crazy, insane. I didn't take a maternity leave because she was so busy. And then I got pregnant again very quickly. And right before I gave birth to my second, which was about a year later, I looked at her and I said, I need to, I can't do freelancing full-time and working full-time. Do you think I could do this on my own? And she absolutely. And that's when Anchored Training was born. And it was the ability to give me that flexibility to be home with my kids if I needed to be, as well as, work with the clients that I wanted to work with on the projects that I really wanted to work on. I loved what I did full-time, but this ended up being more of my passion.
Wow. So you're pretty much like in the trenches doing it.
Oh, yeah. We're in it to win it. In about 2 weeks, I'll also be a virtual teacher to a pre-K4 student. So we're just going to do it all.
Wow. That's great. Yeah. That is a really interesting story, especially for anybody that is freelancing now and is interested in possibly establishing their own business and just going for it. That thanks for sharing that. So any particular projects right now that you're working on that you can share with us?
Yeah. So right now I'm working with an organization that empowers Latino leaders, and we're doing a diversity, equity, and inclusion training. It was something that was instructor led, that they're obviously moving virtual. So I'm really excited, and I get jazzed every time I get to talk to them about that because it's work that I really am excited about. And at the end of 2019, I had made the goal to live more out loud. I was always behind my computer and, working so much or just life, and was never really as engaged with members of the community as I would have liked to have been. And so there were a lot of questions I was getting from up and coming instructional designers or e-learning developers. And so I'd made the goal to get on YouTube and share more of my information. And so last week we launched the YouTube channel, and today just went up another video. So we're really excited about getting more of that type of content out as well, because I like giving more practical advice and things, just kind of outside of just around instructional design, e-learning development. There's a whole side of freelancing and consulting, and it's that relationship building and how to be a consultant that I think can almost sometimes be the harder part.
Okay, so I want to ask you a couple questions just real quick. So one, are you mentoring anybody right now?
I am mentoring someone right now, but I have spots open for a couple of more mentees. Yeah.
Because I want to talk about your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Your YouTube channel is really cool. Like when you had first sent the responded to the calendar invite to do this, I'm like, okay, she's got a YouTube channel. Let's check this out. Just for me, because I'm on YouTube a lot, mostly like my focus is, well, just entertainment, and then also other skills that I'm developing, in music and things. And then on the L&D side, there is just definitely a certain sort of style that I think maybe most of us have kind of come up with in corporate training that isn't exactly the most exciting. It's not a very YouTube style, but you've got the YouTube thing down. How did you figure that out?
I watched a lot of makeup tutorials and stuff. So
is that what it is?
No, it's just about being personable, and it was a quick way for me to be able to showcase my personality in a way that you can't always get from a tweet or an LinkedIn post or an Instagram post a little bit more. But and it was just I feel like I can engage more if I feel like I'm talking to someone.
Right.
And so that's kind of where that was born.
Can you drop your channel URL into the chat, please? Because I watched a couple of your videos, and I was actually just cracking up because you actually made instructional design seem so hip and YouTube-y, which is, I've never seen that before. I've seen lots of people that produce stuff on YouTube, including, what we do in TLDC. And it's just like a couple people talking, and it's fine. I try to put some music here and there, but it's not like what you do, which is, you have actually the YouTube style of doing it. And I think it's very, very, very cool. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah. Just trying to make it fun. 'Cause sometimes I started out in software training and that can be boring, but I knew that going into software training, that was going to be boring. And how could I make it fun for my students? And I worked a lot with, I'm just grabbing that link. I worked a lot with pharma reps, and pharma reps don't want to sit there. They're a very engaging audience. They don't want to sit there and do point and click training. So we would just have fun together. And I feel like if I'm having fun, like you all are going to have fun. And at the end of the day, if it's just my dad and my brother watching my YouTube videos, then at least that's fun for us.
Yeah, no, you have to set yourself some realistic expectations, but at the same time, I'm glad I'll promo. When I promo this particular episode, I'll also throw in your YouTube links because it's just fascinating to me. I haven't seen anyone do it the way that you're doing it now. And it does kind of make sense. Like because makeup tutorials are so huge on YouTube, and just, I watch guys like Casey Neistat and just different people that are major YouTubers. And you're the closest thing that I've seen come to that style. So
wow, thank you.
I'm super impressed because I'm a big YouTube fan. All right, so let me ask you a little bit more about what you're doing now, and how do you stay on top of things? You obviously, with the way that you produce your YouTube videos, you're listening, you're seeing like what what your audience, why they're there, that YouTube style. How do you learn how to do that? How do you stay on top of your professional development?
Well, a lot of podcasts. So I do my morning walks or my morning exercises. Our gyms are still not open just yet here. So it's a lot of listening to podcasts and staying on top of that professional development for myself. So I'm staying on top of the trends and what
Hmm.
people are seeing, but it's also connecting and listening and not even always talking. It's just seeing what are the questions on LinkedIn, what are the questions on Facebook, what are the questions, on Twitter. And you will find that there are a lot of instructional designers that are just looking for some advice. And
Hmm.
that's where I will find a lot of my content and kind of where I spark. I mean, one day I just sat down and wrote out, I think it was like 50 topics based
Hmm.
on just what I was seeing from YouTube and LinkedIn, and just questions that I had while I was trying to get started. And it was something that I know was different because I had a friend that helped guide me. But then at
Hmm.
one point I decided, okay, this is going to be my thing now. Like, I'm going to have a business. And then I had to answer and figure out a lot of those questions. And maybe I didn't ask them because they just kind of came natural, but I knew that
Yeah.
they were things that I had to consciously make decisions on.
Wow, nice. So those 50 questions you actually went through and kind of just internally responded to them just
Mm-hmm.
to help
Yeah.
improve yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah,
great. So
absolutely.
how did you like what got you into this? What inspired you to become a trainer? It sounded like you started out working as a
I
trainer, but what got you there?
So I went to Rutgers for communication political science. I was going to be the next Elle Woods in my mind. My dad was a lawyer. I was going to go fight that fight on Capitol Hill, and I did intern on the Hill. But then in the middle of school, I decided that law school was not going to be my path, and I was in a sorority, and I'm not I'm not just a joiner and like I kind of hang out. I'm a joiner and I want to help move the organization, whatever organization that might be. And so I volunteered at different leadership positions there. I was on the council that governed all of the sororities on campus. And through that role, I had a couple of different roles where I was developing training and developing education. And my fraternity sorority life advisor, I created a training for some recruitment counselors, and it was based on the year before what I was participated in, and some things that I thought we could do a little bit better. And she looked at it and she was like, "That's all right." She's like, "That's good." She's like, "But I know you can do better." And that was just that spark in me that I realized like this is actually a thing. And tapping into the brain of how could I make this better and how could I create a better team of recruitment counselors. And so when I graduated in the middle of the economic crash of 2008, great timing, um, graduated in the middle of the crash, and I had to figure out what I wanted to do. So I just started writing out a whole bunch of keywords of things that I liked to do and things that I thought I would like to do in school. So recruitment, HR was on there, project management, and training. And those are my keyword searches. And I ended up finding a job on Craigslist for corporate training as a corporate trainer for a software company. And they said that they would train me and give me the tools that I need. I didn't have to walk in with experience, which for a new graduate in 2008 was a rare find. The things that I like to do in school were my keywords. And it was through those opportunities, through volunteering and those leadership positions, that I was able to figure out what I like to do. And that's when I was just saying that I found my job on Craigslist, and which was a very strange place at that time to find a job, but it was the only place at that time that you didn't need to have a experience. And for a new grad in 2008, that's big. That was very big.
Wow. Now you were saying earlier about how you were doing some diversity training right now.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now tell me, so you say you're passionate about that. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So my dad's family's from Spain and my mom is Cuban. She was born in Cuba. So being someone who is a minority, who is Hispanic and doesn't always look, obviously does not look it. It is something that I know I have a lot of privilege for, but because of that privilege, I want to be able to advance others that have more struggles than I do.
Mhm.
And just even being a woman, there are things that we struggle with or things that we have to deal with daily at work that I want to talk about. I want to be able to be part of the solution. I'm not a type of person that will just say, I think that this is a problem. I'll say, I think this is a problem, but here are some steps that I think that we could take in order to come around for a solution, or just to make things a little bit easier and a little bit better, and more equitable for everyone.
Oh, that's fantastic. Very powerful. I love hearing that. So any particular skills that you're building right now? Is there anything you're working on to try to get better at?
Delegating. That's a big one for me.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of you guys have done the Enneagrams, but I'm a type 3 through and through. Very much a, I have to kind of be in control. I have to have my order. And as someone that is doing the business development, still doing some of the work, I do outsource some of my work. And I have to just start letting go more. And I have let go of some things. And my video editor for my YouTube channel was actually texting me the other night. And he was like, "You're so easy to work with." And I just said, well, I surround myself around good people, which is number one for me. And I surround myself around experts. So I have to trust you. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm an expert at everything. I'll give you guidance and what I like and what I don't.
Oops. Let's see. Anybody else see that Vanessa is frozen? Oh, there she goes.
Oh.
You're frozen. You're frozen there for a second.
Oh, yeah. So I don't know if you caught that, but yeah. So I would say that delegating, that day-to-day stuff is definitely the skill that I need to build up more. And I think that one thing that I always aspire is graphic design. I just wish I was better at it. And so I'm trying to take like little tutorials here and there on that. But I just need to understand that is something that I can always be better at, but it's okay that I'm not going to be perfect at it.
Yeah, it's interesting because I hear that pretty consistently amongst a lot of the IDs that I talk to, is just that graphic design piece is something that has eluded them. And yeah, it takes a little while. You just have to, just get into it. I know just when I was a kid, I was an art nerd. And so I've always kind of had a thing for it. And it's always been something on the side that I've worked on. So it hasn't been as difficult for me, but I definitely know that it can be a challenge. Anybody in your career that has been particularly influential in you coming up as an ID?
Yeah. I think besides like the big names like Kathy Moore and things like that, there was actually a Slack group that I'm a part of, online network of independent learning professionals. And there is a member there, Danny Watkins, who I just look up to. Just her style and her willingness to share her experiences. And she's built such a successful instructional design and e-learning development agency. They're based out in Colorado, and she's always willing to do, monthly tutorials for us and things like that, and give us her insight of her experiences. And she does a lot of work with government contracts and things like that. So that's been really great. And anytime that you reach out to her, she's like, "Yeah, I know someone here. Here you go. Like, this is their contact information." And just knowing that she's coming from a place of sharing and not competition or that like scarcity mindset has just been amazing.
That's fantastic. It's like no matter what, I've been in this industry for almost a couple decades now, and it's still, like as big as you think it is, it's still like way bigger. And I think that one of the most fascinating things about these showcases for me is that, it's like I can totally go outside of the typical circle and just find absolutely just like people that have no clue who the other is, that may be positioned at the top of the industry, but they're just completely separate entities entirely. So it's fascinating. Danny Watkins, you said?
Yeah, Danielle Watkins.
Okay, I'm gonna have to reach out and just and find out who the special person is.
I'll shoot you her LinkedIn information.
Love
we're
it.
Connected there too.
Do you have a project that you'd like to brag about right now?
I would say my YouTube channel is my biggest brag right now. Honestly, I know we talked a lot about that. That's been the craziest. I don't think I'm natural on the camera. Obviously you may think so, and others. I think it's so awkward. I was trying to watch my latest this morning, and I was like, ooh. Yeah. But that's my biggest thing. I'm excited. We are building some curriculum for up and coming instructional designers, and this is all that listening that I can, start doing. And to build something that is actually meaningful. It's not just about theory. It's going to be about, more like, it's not just about theory. It's about the whole aspect of instructional design and freelancing. Like I said, it's that consulting, that relationship building.
Any other YouTubers, like ID YouTubers, that you kind of keep an eye on?
Yeah, and Pugh, he is from Australia. He and I connected on LinkedIn and on Instagram, and we seem to have kids around the same age, and we kind of very similar outlooks and ideas. And so he's always fun, and he always posts things on LinkedIn that are fun to chat about. Bella Vista Studios is also another one out in Australia, and I check them out a lot. I love their human-centered design, which is where I'm very big about. It's just keeping that learner in the middle. And they just did a learning conference. It was 3 days, and it was the first learning conference that I felt reached more to freelance instructional designers rather than a manager at a training manager at a corporation or at an organization. It really spoke more to who I was, and that was the thing that I felt was missing from our education.
Yeah, no, there's I think it's a challenge out there for freelancers to find that type of content, because the practitioners kind of get the short end of the stick. I was at the eLearning Guild for years and years, and basically where the money is you go for the CLOs, you go for the managers, because those are the decision makers, and that it just sort of moves in that direction. So the practitioners sort of they don't get the content they need, and so that's one of the reasons why TLDC exists, is to kind of like fill that out a little bit. So when you started out on this path as an instructional designer, is there anything that now that you wish you'd known then?
Yeah, I should have connected sooner with people on LinkedIn and all of that. And it can be a very lonely field, especially when your mom thinks that you just create PowerPoints for a living, which is fine. But it's not an industry that people really know about or understand or even know exists unless they fall into it, like that accidental instructional designers. So I think had I done more of that and made more of an effort to carve that time out. I do find social media exhausting as much as I'm on it. So I do like to take breaks. I wish I'd done more of that, because those are the people that get me, and I don't have to explain a whole backstory to explain how I'm trying to fix this one issue inarticulate.
No, that's great. That's I totally agree with you. Like, social media it's terrible. It can be just horrendous to be in there all the time. But at the same time, this particular profession, you can feel really, really alone, and and so it's great that you figured that out. What's the favorite part of what you do?
So there's two parts that I love that are kind of mixed. So knowledge transfers, I am obsessed about. I love diving into new curriculum and new content and designing what that learning plan could look like, but also building relationships with my clients. That is true. Like, I just have so much fun with it. And I just rolled off of a project. We just finished up with a fashion designer and their retail store team. And they let me use them as a reference. And one of them just texted me, and she's like, oh, so-and-so's contacted me for a recommendation. And she and I just really connected. She lives in the same town as my parents do. And it's just fun to like send them memes and stuff like that. So I just feel like I expand my friend base, which has been really wonderful.
That's great. That's great. Is there anything in particular, as far as your skill sets are concerned, that you really feel like you excel at?
I think allowing my personality to shine through and not hiding behind, what I think professionals should always look like, and being someone that I'm not. I just am who I am. Sometimes a jersey comes out. Sometimes, a more bubbly person comes out. Sometimes I am an introvert, to be honest. And sometimes that introvert aspect will come out, or sometimes you can't talk to me because I'm in the middle of working and I cannot handle outside noise or distraction.
Yeah.
But in spite of all that, just letting myself still be who I am.
Interesting. So when you sit down and you start building stuff, is there any particular piece of the instructional design puzzle that you can just really whiz through?
I think that, yeah, it would be that curriculum development part of it. And while that seems like the biggest and the most time consuming, and it can be, it's also the one that I can just sit down and I know where the pieces are supposed to go.
Yeah.
Because I look at things through a new hire lens a lot of time, because essentially with a lot of my clients, I am, because I don't work in their industries. And with some clients, I've worked with so many of people in their industry. I know that industry so well. So we know the rules and we know the business processes. Like I work a lot with pharma. I feel like I could have been a rep at this point. I work a lot with a major airline. I maybe could have been a flight attendant at this point, because we know so much about the ins and the outs of it.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting how that happens too? You just like, you talk enough with, with SMEs that all of a sudden you feel like you become an expert in that particular. Yeah. Yeah. That's great. What's the most common misconception people have about you?
That I'm Italian is one of them. I'm from New Jersey. I'm from North Jersey. It's like a really big one. No, I think some people think that I can be unapproachable. And that is so not the case. And I'm always looking to meet new people, and I don't know everything, and I don't claim to be. And so if I don't know the answer, I'll either look for it for you, or I will point you to the person that I know probably has the answer.
Oh, that's great. That is great. So you talked about how your mom just thinks that you make PowerPoints for a living, but do you have like your best friend? What do you think your best friend would say that you do for a living?
So my very good friends know very well about my profession, because we volunteer together and we do a lot of development for training and things like that. I think they would say probably they'd be like that, like boss, like that expert, and that I'm running a business and I'm creating something bigger than myself, so that I have more to share with other people. I want to bring more people in, and I want to bring others to share in what I'm experiencing in instructional design and e-learning development, and just in business in general and in life.
So your job history, now you went to Rutgers University, but was there anything like, what kind of jobs have you had in the past? Was there anything in particular that led you to this, this journey of being a trainer?
No particular, other than experiences that I had volunteering, led me to be a trainer. I will say that I, for a hot second, and by that I mean like 3 years, thought I should have been in HR. So I got a job as an office manager at a home remodeling company. It's a national home remodeling company. And they have sales and marketing offices throughout the US. And so I was their office manager for their New Jersey sales and marketing office. And it was just myself and the 2 VPs that were running the office. And it was more HR oriented. It was a lot less training. And I just thought, for whatever reason, I should have been in that role. And I was the only female that worked there. So that was always interesting. It was like 120 men that sales guys at that I managed, which definitely used new skills I never knew I had. But what I realized as I was going through was the projects I was picking up, or the projects I was making for myself, were all still training related. So even though we had so many offices, we were all doing things a little bit different. And I was the one that started creating that manual, and that, okay, so what is it that, what is that consistency amongst all the offices? But also when we opened up a new office, so I went to Detroit and opened up their office. And what does that training look like for a new office manager? I was part of developing that consistency for it. And so that's when I realized I needed to go back into training and consulting.
That's interesting. So there was kind of like a pretty solid path. It wasn't like, you were working as a waitress or, at a manufacturing.
I waitressed from my senior year until my senior year of college. And I had gastric bypass when I was 22 in November. And my doctor said, you can't go back to work for 6 weeks. And that was my deadline. That was November 2008. And I said, okay, I have 6 weeks to find a full-time job, because I just don't want to go back into waitressing. And that's when I found my corporate training job.
Interesting. Wow. That is really interesting. So if you weren't an L&D professional, what do you think you'd be?
Oh, I would definitely be a lawyer. I'm really good at arguing my case. Just ask my dad and my husband and my mom.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. I haven't heard that one yet in this series of anyone saying rather than an L&D professional, they'd be a lawyer. That actually kind of sounds like a
It fits.
dangerous
I mean, you still
combination.
have to study your cases. You have to really make your case and stand by your convictions. So
Yeah. Yeah. Like
yeah.
Kristen is saying, it's also a useful skill for instructional
Yes.
designers. I've never thought about that one before. Okay. So we're going to wrap it up pretty soon. Let me ask you a couple more questions. If there is one thing that people should know about you, what do you think it is?
Geez, that's a good one. I think that if there's anything that people should know is that I'm an open book. So feel free to reach out and ask any questions.
No, that's great. That's great. And when we wrap it up, if you could maybe just put some, we could put your LinkedIn profile and any other contact info. I'll drop your Anchored Training URL in here. Now, what have I missed? Is there a question that I should have asked you that you'd love to answer? Is there anything you can think of?
No, I think the only other thing that, and it was something that I was asked in an interview with a new client recently is, what is a question I didn't ask you? And then that question for me was, what's your personal brand? So I do recommend that for instructional designers that are out there interviewing. If someone doesn't ask you that question, give that response. What is your brand? Because you're going to bring something specific and something different to that client that someone else may not. And so people love to work with people and they want to know more about you. And I think that's really a great way to bring a little bit more of yourself to future interviews.
What have you done? So that's actually a really big question, but what have you done to kind of define your brand?
I just went through a whole rebrand. So I worked with a brand strategist and we did some imagery and really planned out what my brand was. And I had to sit down and think about what are things that I want people to think about when I'm not in the room or to say about me. And I asked people what they say about me when I'm not in the room or how they see myself and also what my philosophy is with learning and development and instructional design. So a lot of those things are about a holistic learning plan, and it's not just a one and done situation. It's the whole piece of it. And that's really big for me. I'm very pragmatic. So that's part of my brand is I'm going to go through the steps and things like that. And we're going to have a process in place to get from A to Z.
Yeah, brand name. I mean, Anchored Training is just that's the first thing that that kind of hit me, and I'm like, oh, that's a clever one. That's really, really good.
Thank you.
Right off the bat, you give people some sense of what your focus is. It's interesting. So, I mean, as a freelancer, you've established your brand. Would you even recommend it for people that are already working on a team? Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's something that even if you aren't a freelancer, you want to build your brand within your own organization as well. If you're going to be an internal resource, you want to establish who you are in that organization.
No, that's excellent. That's great advice. It's great advice. I hope people take that seriously because I totally agree with it. All right. So our time is up, Vanessa. Thank you so much. I'm definitely going to have to hit you up a little bit more and push out some of your content just because it's so interesting to me that, you've got that YouTube feel and it's just kind of just fascinating because I haven't quite seen that yet. Even with Ant. I mean, Ant has some great YouTube videos that are definitely along the lines of what that style is. But, yours with the music and all of that, it just, it really just reminds me of what is typical on there. And it made instructional design seem very hip, which is
it
not
totally
easy
is.
to
We're
do.
so fun.
Yeah. So thank you so much for your time this morning. We'll have this recording posted soon, and thanks everybody for joining us. Tomorrow we have Kristen Hayden Safdie in. She's doing the most helpful non-ID skill. I'd like to start that conversation a little earlier, so I'll probably post something about that today on social media. And so tomorrow, join us for that community discussion. And then Friday, we've got Alan Nottichew on for another showcase. And with that, everybody, have a great week. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks again, Vanessa.
Thank you.